Hello there, welcome to Conflict News 2042. Continuing our coverage of Israel Palestine war, several key updates for you. Firstly, Netanyahu, Israeli Prime Minister, spoke today saying that a date has been set for ground invasion of Gaza by Israeli military. What is this date? When will Israel attack Gaza? Ground invasion of Gaza. Secondly, US has confirmed that more than 2 dozen soldiers were injured in recent attacks by armed groups in the Middle East on US military bases. How many Hezbollah fighters have died so far? How many Palestinians, children died in this war? And thirdly, statement from Erdogan, Turkish president, who spoke a few minutes ago, and Egypt is flexing muscles as well. Egypt put up a big military show today, while pressure on Qatar to tone down the rhetoric adopted by Al Jazeera regarding its alleged support for Hamas. Let's start with a new story from the speech about a speech of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu spoke today. He addressed the nation and he talked about ground invasion of Gaza. Everyone wants to know, is Israel going to invade Gaza or not? Has Israel delayed or postponed or cancelled the ground attack on Gaza? Netanyahu spoke today. What did he say? Netanyahu says that a date has been set for ground attack on Gaza. It will happen. He did not share details of the date. When will the attack be carried out? What will be the nature of the attack? What will be the intensity of the attack? But he confirmed that what is happening is just the beginning. More to come. Ground attack on Gaza will happen. Since yesterday, we have been hearing rumors that Israel has postponed ground invasion of Gaza because of dozens of hostages which are still being captive, which are still being held captive in Gaza by Hamas PIJ the groups, though unconfirmed. And we know that US opposed occupation of Gaza by Israeli Defense Force. So US could support ground invasion of Gaza, but it is against permanent occupation of Gaza by IDF. And then Macron spoke today, French president. He visited Israel, Ramallah too, and he showed his support for Israel. He said Israel has right to self-defense. At the same time, he said that the ground invasion of Gaza would be an error. So international pressure is there on Israel to postpone the ground invasion of Gaza. Meanwhile, more air defense systems, missile systems from the US are going to arrive in Israel. And we are seeing that Arab countries are also stepping up their attacks, verbal attacks, condemning Israeli attacks, warning Israel against ground invasion of Gaza, missile firing from Lebanon by Hezbollah on Israeli military targets continuing on Israel's northern border. There are several reasons, but no one knows when this ground invasion be conducted. Maybe Israel is waiting for the release of hostages. Hamas has released some hostages. An old woman was released yesterday. She was interviewed and she was all praise for Hamas fighters. She shook hand with the Hamas fighters and she was criticized. But she said she was treated well by Hamas fighters, by Palestinian fighters. So pressure there on Israel to postpone or to cancel the ground invasion of Gaza. But Netanyahu says ground invasion will happen. But at the right time, he has set the date, but date not made public so far. Meanwhile, US has confirmed the losses suffered by its military deployed in the Middle East in the past. Today, we have seen around 13 attacks on US military bases in Syria and Iraq within the last 10 days. Attacks carried out by mostly Iran backed groups, which fired missiles, rockets, kamikaze drones on US military bases in Syria and Iraq. Al Assad military base was hit, and some others too. And according to US military officials, 30 US soldiers were injured in these attacks by Iran backed groups. These attacks are also a warning from Iran, from Hezbollah, from pro-Palestine elements that if Gaza is invaded by Israel, attacks on US military interests in the Middle East will intensify. That could be one of the reasons behind delayed invasion of Gaza by Israel, that US is asking Israel to delay ground invasion of Gaza. And this development shows that US military bases in the Middle East are not fully protected. Though US has the best air defense systems in the world, but still these best air defense systems are not 100% accurate, 100% effective. So it means that some kamikaze drones, rockets manage to breach the security parameters put in place at these military bases in Iraq and Syria. Meanwhile, some groups are threatening to attack US military bases in Qatar, Kuwait, and UAE. UAE and Kuwait to unknown groups, reportedly. Meanwhile, Hezbollah has confirmed 40 casualties on its side so far. Hezbollah on daily basis shares pictures of those who are dying in exchange of gunfire on Israel-Lebanon border. 40 killed on Hezbollah side so far. Their pictures being shared. Their burial ceremonies are being organized in Lebanon, while Israeli military is also suffering losses in terms of losses to their military equipment and to their personnel on Israel-Lebanon border. Palestinian Health Authority today issued a statement saying that 2,704 children have been killed so far in Gaza in strikes by Israeli military. That's a big number. A disaster in Gaza. Total number of casualties, 6,546 and 2,700 children. But still no condemnation. No condemnation of these strikes on Gaza by any Western country. Rather, they're saying that Israel has right to self-defense. No matter how many children are killed, civilians are killed in these strikes on Gaza. Egypt today put up a big military show. Egypt showed its military capabilities today. Its military hardware was on display. Military parade was held in Egypt today. Why is Egypt flexing its military muscles? Why is there need for this sort of military show? Egypt shares border with Gaza. Egypt opposes ground invasion of Gaza. If Gaza is invaded by Israel, we could see influx of Gaza people into Egypt through Rafah border crossing. Egypt does not want influx of refugees into its territory. Secondly, we have seen some strikes on Egypt side of Egypt-Gaza border by Israeli military. Israeli military fired at some Egyptian soldiers, though later they apologized. Israeli military apologized. Before that, some strikes were conducted on Egyptian side of Egypt-Gaza border, telling Egypt that it should not allow any aid into Gaza without approval from the Israeli government. Egypt is flexing its muscles. It's not part of the conflict, but if ground invasion of Gaza happens, we could see tension on Rafah border crossing to Egypt, Gaza border crossing. Turkey spoke as well today. Erdogan took a position. He said Hamas is not a terrorist organization. Hamas is a patriotic organization. Israel is committing human rights abuses, and Erdogan announced to cancel his visit to Israel. Turkey has been trying to normalize its relations with Israel. We saw in recent months and years that Turkey, UAE, some other countries, they tried to restore ties with Israel. But this new episode of escalation in the Middle East has led to serious tension between Turkey and Israel. uh, Erdogan was heard saying that international community should stop Israel from committing grave human rights abuses against the people of Gaza. Meanwhile, Turkey is sending humanitarian aid to Gaza through Egypt. A Turkish plane carrying humanitarian aid arrived in Egypt today, close to Rafah border crossing. Protest on uh, Iraq Jordan border today. Big protest in support of Palestine in Iraq today. Supply of oil from Iraq to Jordan suspended because of this protest. People protested against Jordan's silence, that Jordan is not supporting people of Gaza. Jordan shares a long border with Israel. Meanwhile, pressure on Qatar. We saw some reports today that US Secretary of State has contacted Qatari authorities to stop Al Jazeera from giving extensive coverage to the issue of Gaza. Al Jazeera is based in Qatar, and it is extensively, continuously covering the plight of the people of Gaza. And Al Jazeera is accused of supporting Hamas, supporting Palestinian fighters. That is why a request to Qatar from the US that Qatar should stop Al Jazeera. So US, Western countries, they want Al Jazeera to stop supporting Hamas, people of Gaza. But no statement, no pressure from these governments on those news sources which are supporting Israeli military, Israeli forces. Sometimes international players who claim to be champions of democracy, champions of human rights, are exposed during conflicts because all their canons of impartiality are exposed once their interests are in danger. And that is what seems to be the case in the Middle East, where we're seeing that entire Western world, US, they are on one page. They are backing Israel. They are not condemning Israeli strikes, which have killed more than 2,700 children so far. On the other hand, we're seeing that Arab countries are split. They have their own interest. No one wants to be a victim of Israeli aggression. So tensions continuing. Ground invasion of Gaza could happen. Israel-Lebanon border still very hot front. Strikes being conducted on Gaza, strikes ongoing. Occasional rocket firing too from Gaza on Israel-controlled territories. The main front is Israel-Lebanon border, where we have seen that Hezbollah fighters have showed their capabilities of precisely hitting Israeli military sites and equipment in recent strikes. So that front is a pain in the side for Israeli military. That is why it seems that ground invasion of Gaza has been delayed. Let's see when Israel will conduct ground invasion, or will it permanently postpone. That remains to be seen. Thank you for watching.